Sirens tore through the quiet of Maple Grove at 8:17 p.m. Neighbors poured onto their lawns as flames clawed through the windows of a two-story colonial on Birchwood Drive. Smoke rolled thick and black into the sky. A woman stood in the street barefoot, screaming that her son was still inside. Fire engine 12 screeched to a stop. Darius Cole jumped down before the wheels fully settled. He had trained for this moment his entire life. 12 years in the department, commendations, perfect fitness scores, certified in high-risk interior rescue. He didn't hesitate. He pulled his mask down, grabbed the Halligan tool, and sprinted toward the front door. And then someone grabbed his shoulder. "Where do you think you're going?" Captain Morris barked. "Interior search," Darius said. "She said her kid's upstairs. You're not on entry." Darius blinked through the smoke. "I'm certified rescue. I'm closed." Morris stepped in front of the door, blocking him completely. "You're on exterior support. I'd run line now." The mother's scream cut through the night again. "My baby's in there." Darius felt his chest tighten. Every instinct screamed at him to move. He knew the layout of these homes. Built in the early 2000s, narrow staircase to the left, bedrooms at the top landing, fire spreading from the kitchen, according to the smoke color. "I can make it in 60 seconds, he said. "That's an order, Cole." Two younger firefighters avoided eye contact as they rushed past him and disappeared inside. Darius stood frozen for half a second too long. "Hydrant!" Morris roared. He turned and ran. Neighbors were recording now. Phones glowed in the dark. Someone shouted, "Why isn't he going in?" Darius hooked the hose with mechanical precision, but his ears were tuned to the house. He could hear the crackle changing pitch, the kind of shift that meant structural compromise was close. 30 seconds, 45, a crash from inside. Then the two firefighters stumbled out, coughing violently. "Too hot," one of them yelled. Flashover in the hallway. The mother collapsed to her knees. Darius dropped the hose and moved again toward the door. Morris shoved him back harder this time. "Stand down. He's still in there." "I said stand down." For a split second, the world narrowed to the flames, reflecting in Morris's visor. Darius understood exactly what was happening. This wasn't about protocol. This was about him. About the quiet jokes in the locker room. About the times he was assigned cleanup instead of lead. About the way Morris once said, "We just like to stick with what's familiar." The roof groaned, and then another engine roared up behind them. Battalion Chief Harold Whitaker stepped out of the SUV. Everything shifted. Whitaker didn't rush. He walked with the steady pace of a man who had commanded scenes for 25 years. His white helmet reflected the firelight like polished steel. "What's the status?" he asked calmly. "Interior attempt failed," Maurice said quickly. "Structure unstable. We're defensive now." Whitaker's eyes moved past him. He saw Darius standing back from the door, hose abandoned at his feet, jaw clenched tight. "Why isn't Cole inside?" Whitaker asked. Silence. Maurice cleared his throat. "He was assigned exterior." Whitaker stared at the burning house, then at the mother sobbing in the street. "How many interior certified on scene?" 3. Whitaker didn't break eye contact with the flames. "Cole makes 4. Maurice hesitated. "Chief, it's too risky now." Whitaker finally turned, fully toward him. "Did you attempt stairwell advance?" "Yes, sir." "Left side staircase?" "Yes." "Kitchen origin?" "Yes." Whitaker nodded slowly. Then he looked at Darius. "Tell me what you see." It wasn't a challenge. It was trust. Darius stepped forward, fires venting through rear kitchen window. Hallway flashover because they didn't close the door behind entry. Stairwell might still be viable from exterior second floor window. Winds blowing east. "If we ladder the west side, I can cut in through the back bedroom." The chief studied him for half a second longer than necessary. Then he said, clearly, "Do it." Maurice stiffened. "Chief, that's an order." Everything moved at once. A ladder slammed against the siding. Darius climbed before anyone else could protest. Heat blasted his gear. Smoke swallowed him as he smashed the rear window and disappeared inside. Outside, the neighborhood fell silent. Inside, the world was chaos. The bedroom was thick with smoke but not yet fully ignited. Darius dropped low, crawling fast. He could hear something faint. A cough. He followed it into the hallway. Flames licked across the ceiling behind him. He pulled his spare hood tighter and pushed forward. Another cough. "Fire department," he shouted. "Call out," a small voice whimpered from the bathroom. The door was hot but not glowing. He kicked it open. A boy no older than 8 crouched in the tub with a towel over his head. Darius scooped him up instantly, wrapping him tight against his chest. The hallway ignited. The only path back was through the window. He ran straight through heat that felt alive. Outside, Whitaker watched the roofline sag. 30 seconds, he muttered, and then glass shattered. Darius burst through the smoke carrying the boy. The ladder shook as he descended. Flames exploded through the roof behind him just as his boots hit the ground. The street erupted in screams and applause at the same time. The mother tackled him, sobbing over her son. Medics rushed in. Darius removed his mask slowly, lungs burning. Across the yard, Morris stood motionless. Whitaker walked directly toward erupts, in front of the entire crew, in front of the entire neighborhood. He removed his helmet. "You just saved that child's life," he said clearly enough for cameras to hear. Darius nodded once, still catching his breath. Whitaker turned to Maurice. "Why was my most experienced interior rescuer assigned to a hydrant?" Morris opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Whitaker's voice stayed calm, but it carried. "I reviewed shift assignments last month. Cole has the highest confined space certification in this unit, highest endurance rating, and the fastest stairwell times." The younger firefighters shifted uncomfortably. Whitaker continued. "So I'll ask again." Morris swallowed. "I made a call based on team cohesion." "Team cohesion," Whitaker repeated. He looked around at the faces watching. "Cohesion does not mean exclusion." The words hung heavy in the smoky air. Phones were still recording. Whitaker stepped closer to Maurice. "If you cannot recognize talent when it's standing in front of you, you have no business leading it." The message was unmistakable. An hour later, as the fire smoldered into embers, news vans lined Birchwood Drive. Reporters replayed the footage of Darius climbing the ladder again and again. But what spread even faster was the earlier clip, the one where he was blocked from the door. By midnight, it was everywhere. The next morning, the department announced an internal review. By afternoon, Morris was placed on administrative leave, but the real moment came 2 days later at headquarters. The entire department gathered in the apparatus bay. Whitaker stood at the podium. "Courage isn't just running into fire," he began. "It's standing up to bias inside our own ranks." He called Darius forward. In front of every firefighter, he pinned a medal to his uniform. Valor under extreme conditions. Applause thundered through the building. Darius looked out at his colleagues. Some clapped loudly. Some couldn't meet his eyes. But something had shifted. After the ceremony, Whitaker pulled him aside. "You were blocked," the chief said quietly. "I saw it," Darius nodded. Whitaker continued, "I can't fix what's been ignored before, but I can fix what I see now." A week later, official changes rolled out. New leadership training, blind assignment protocols for high-risk entries, clear accountability structures. And then one more announcement. Captain Morris resigned. His replacement, Lieutenant Darius Cole, the first black captain in Maple Grove history. On his first shift leading Engine 12, Darius stood in the same bay where he'd once been overlooked. He addressed his crew calmly. "On my truck, the only thing that matters is who's best for the job in that moment. Fire doesn't care about comfort. It cares about competence." No one argued, because they had seen it. They had watched him walk through fire while others hesitated. That night, as the sun dipped below the station roof, Darius stepped outside. The air was cool, quiet. His phone buzzed with a message from the mother whose son he had carried from the flames, a photo of her boy smiling wide, wrapped in a blanket, giving a thumbs up. Underneath it she wrote, "You were his angel." Darius stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he looked back at the station, at the engine that now answered to him. He understood something clearly. They had tried to lock him out of the fire, but fire has a way of revealing truth, and when the flames rose high enough, everyone saw exactly who was meant to walk through them. The promotion didn't erase the memory of that night. If anything, it sharpened it. 3 weeks after the fire on Birchwood Drive, Engine 12 received another call just after midnight. The apartment complex, 3rd floor, smoke visible, possible entrapment. The crew moved fast, but this time something felt different. They were watching him, not with doubt, with expectation. As the engine rolled through the dark streets of Maple Grove, Darius could feel the weight of the captain's bars on his collar. They weren't just metal, they were proof, and proof came with responsibility. When they arrived, Flames curled from a balcony on the third floor. Residents flooded the parking lot in pajamas, clutching pets and crying children. Purport, Darius called out as he stepped down. Elderly male unaccounted for, apartment 3B. A police officer shouted. Darius looked up. Third floor, directly above the fire unit. Wind pushing hard from the south. High risk. He turned to his crew. Jackson, you're with me on entry. Morales Lada, the north side. Cut off vertical spread. Nugent, secure water and back us up. There was no hesitation. No side glances. No questioning of his call. Masks on. Air packs secure. They moved as one unit toward the stairwell. He'd smacked them halfway up the second floor. Visibility 0. Jackson yelled through the radio. Stay low. Follow my lead, Darius replied. The stairwell to the third floor was partially compromised, flames licking the underside. The easy decision would have been to retreat and wait for full suppression. But time wasn't on their side. Darius remembered the way the mother's scream had sounded weeks ago. He wasn't going to hear that sound again if he could help it. They pushed through. Apartment 3B's door was locked. Darius swung the Halligan tool once, twice. The door gave. Inside was chaos. Smoke thick enough to taste. Alarms shrieking. A lamp knocked over near the couch. Flames chewing through upholstery. Fire department, he shouted. Call out. A faint banging came from the back bedroom. They followed it. An elderly man lay on the floor near the bed. Oxygen tank tipped over beside him. Jackson froze for half a second at the sight of the tank. Careful, he warned. Darius assessed instantly. The tank wasn't ruptured. Fire hadn't reached it yet. Grab his shoulders, Darius ordered. I'll take legs. Together they hauled him up. The hallway was worse now. Captain, stairwell's unstable. Morales crackled over the radio. You need alternate exit. Darius scanned quickly. Window at the end of the hall. Morales led at the east side now. Within seconds, metal clanged against brick outside. They moved fast. Darius smashed the window with his elbow and felt cold air rush in. Smoke poured out like a living thing escaping. Jackson climbed down first with the elderly man secured in a harness line. Darius followed close behind. The moment his boots hit the ground, part of the stairwell collapsed inside the building. The crowd gasped. Darius looked up at his crew as they regrouped. No one questioned his decisions. No one second-guessed his authority. They trusted him. Later, as paramedics loaded the elderly man into an ambulance, Jackson approached him quietly. Cap, he said, voice low, I owe you something. Darius removed his gloves slowly. What's that? Jackson shifted uncomfortably. That night on Birchwood, I didn't say anything when Maurice blocked you. Darius held his gaze. I saw it, Jackson continued. I didn't step in. The night air was cool against sweat-soaked skin. It shouldn't have been your job to step in, Darius said calmly. It should have never happened. Jackson nodded once. Still, you deserved backup. Darius studied him for a moment, then gave a small nod. Then be the kind of firefighter who doesn't stay silent next time. Jackson straightened. Yes, Captain. Word of the apartment rescue spread quickly, too. Not because of controversy, because of consistency. 2 high-risk saves in under a month. 2 moments where leadership mattered more than ego. The department culture began to shift in subtle ways. Locker room jokes faded. Assignment boards became transparent. Performance spoke louder than politics. A month later, Battalion Chief Whitaker called Darius into his office. The chief looked older than he had during the fire. Retirement paperwork sat in neat stacks on his desk. You changed something here, Whitaker said plainly. Darius shook his head. We changed it. Whitaker smiled faintly. No, you forced us to see it. He stood and extended his hand. I'm stepping down at the end of the quarter. Darius blinked. Already, 30 years is enough smoke for one lifetime. They shook hands firmly. Keep pushing them, Whitaker added. Don't let comfort creep back in. I won't. On Whitaker's final day, the entire department lined up outside the station. As the chief climbed into his personal truck for the last time, he paused and looked directly at Darius. Keep the door open, he said. Darius understood exactly what he meant. Months later, a new recruit joined Engine 12. Young, nervous, first day on shift. He hesitated before stepping fully into the bay. Darius noticed immediately. He walked over and extended a hand. Welcome to Engine 12, he said. You ready to work? The recruit nodded quickly. Yes, sir. Darius gestured toward the truck. On this engine, We earn our place by what we do inside the fire, nothing else. The recruit's shoulders relaxed slightly. And for the first time in a long time, the station felt different, stronger, not because the flames had stopped, but because the barriers had. They had once tried to lock him outside a burning house. Now he held the keys to the entire engine, and every time the alarm rang, he made sure the only thing standing between his crew and the fire was courage, not prejudice.